boy. No, she got AIDS.
I hope you got a condom on, bro. You ain't got no condom on? You tripping. Oh, stupid. Buddy. How old are you? How old are you, buddy? Hey, buddy. No, where your mom? You need to go home to your mama, buddy. You need to go home to your mama, boy. Right there, Jenny, came right there. They got a condom for me. I would have gave y'all.
Okay, bro, let me holler at you, bro. Hey, she got it, bro. She got AIDS, bro.
Oh man, this nigga fucking.
She got AIDS. I ain't picking the pussy though. I'm telling you, she got AIDS, bro.
What's up, everybody? It is your girl, your diva and knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Want to give a big ups to all of my A1s from day ones. Again, I thank you for still supporting me and still being a part of my movement. For those of you who have recently subscribed, I welcome you to Mocha's Cafe de Paris family, and thank you again for joining my movement. With that being said, I thought it was very imperative that I brought this particular content, this recipe to y'all this evening. I know y'all have just viewed the clip that I have displayed before I go into my commentary. As you can see, I had to blur certain parts of it out. And I had to basically cover certain parts of the clip, and I had to do that for very good reason. YouTube is very, very strict, and being that I don't get a lot of donations, I try to make sure my videos are not too offensive, they're not too raw, they're not too provocative, because you can get demonetized based on what type of content that you show on your videos. So I had to blur that out, and believe me, you weren't missing out on much of anything. But for those of you who are interested, I will leave the clip. I will leave the link to the clip inside of the description box. So if you want to view it for your own viewing pleasure, you are welcome to do so. But again, with YouTube, you have to be, very careful with what you upload, because it can, cause your channel, that video to be demonetized. And I'm trying to get as much, funds or um, that I can possibly receive based on the content that I'm uploading. But anyway, nevertheless, I thought it was imperative that I did this content. And the reason I decided to present this recipe for today is because this has become a continuous issue for young Black males in society. This particular issue has been brought to my attention more than once in these past couple of months. My daughter showed me a video clip of a young man she dated back in high school, who uploaded a video of himself on Instagram having unprotected sex with another young Black female. Neither one of them were 20 years old. Then it was brought to my attention once again when this video was floating around on Facebook. So apparently you can tell this young man, who looks like he can't be no older than 17 or 18 years old, was in the public eye having raw sex with a dumpster juice crackhead. Ironically, he had the audacity, if you paid attention, he was wearing a face mask protecting himself from coronavirus, but he had no condom on, raw dogging a smoker who has had more penises than a porn star. So I just find it ironic that he was able to protect his face, but he didn't want to protect his penis. You can look at this woman and tell she's used, she's tarnished, she's filthy, to allow a young man to raw dog her on the public street in front of people on the sidewalk. She's obviously on drugs and she's a prostitute, so you can't expect much of anything from her, but to do what she does best, and that is provide AIDS and $20 blowjobs. So to add insult to injury, they waited until the dude had inserted himself into her to tell him that she has AIDS, the package, the ninja, the deadly venom. Dude immediately, it was like a deer in the headlights, and you could tell he was extremely embarrassed at that point, which further lets me know he knows how deadly AIDS is. He knows the severity of it. Um, but he was so happy to be getting the opportunity of free booty, all his common sense went out the door. When it was brought to his attention from the crowd that the woman, the crowd that was surrounding them, had AIDS, he pulls out, pulls up his pants and walk off. He was mortified. Someone in the background had asked him why he didn't use any protection, and he's evidently a young buck because he had a book bag on. Looks like he's probably still in somebody's school, and they were telling him to go home to his mama. You could tell he was encouraged by his hood booger homeboys to go bang that smoker chick. He knew how he turned it down. His friends most likely probably would have called him a simp, told him he was soft, because again, young men are being taught that your dick alone defines your masculinity. So therefore, if you're not using your dick, then you're not masculine. There was another video I saw a few months ago when another young man under the age of 18 was having unprotected sex with a 60-year-old crackhead in the alley, and he didn't know he was being recorded. And of course, he dived his penis right into the dumpster juice for roughly 10 minutes, and then the person who was recording him busted him out. So of course, he zips up his pants and takes off, jets off, while the 60-year-old smoker, sits there looking puzzled. um, this simply just goes to show that there are a lot of you who have sons, nephews, or male cousins, and evidently they're not being educated about their penis. These young men are lacking discipline. Too many of our young black men are given false information about sex. These young men are being barbershop taught, Facebook taught, Twitter taught about sex. And now they have so much access to sex thanks to social media, with access to sites such as Pornhub, Extreme Porn, and many other porn sites. There are also their homeboys, their friends that are giving them misguided information. And the sad part is that these older men who love to get on YouTube and discuss BFF, all of these other issues, none of them are really discussing they're not educating these young men about having discipline, lacking discipline, and it's costing these young men way more consequences than they could afford to handle. These young men are being taught that masculinity is based on how much they use their penis by banging several chicks at a time. These young men aren't being taught that their promiscuous behavior is going to bring them more harm than good in the long run. They're being told you are a simp if you're not getting any. Immoral sexual behavior makes um you as a man, it actually giving yourself, what people are not understanding. It's not so much a simp. Not getting any doesn't make you simp. What makes you a simp is when you are constantly giving yourself to several random women at a time. Because if you keep partaking in immoral sexual behavior, even as a man, eventually you're going to end up in a simp situation, because you're going to have to give a worthless ass female 18 years of child support once you knock up and get her pregnant, all because you want to prove you're a man, you're masculine, and you want to prove that you're not a simp. So basically, today I'm going to break down all of the ingredients to how lack of discipline will be the demise of young black men. So the first point I definitely wanted to address is that there are certain characteristics, there are certain character traits that will make certain young black men more prone to lacking discipline. And the first thing is males with low self esteem. You know, when we hear the word low self esteem, we think it's automatically just a black woman's problem. And granted, the majority of us do have low self esteem issues. That's just a fact. But the problem is there's a lot of young black males who also are suffering from low self-esteem issues, and nobody talks about that because again, it's a masculine thing not to lacking confidence. That's not being masculine if you don't have confidence. But the truth is there's a lot of young men, and when I say young men, I'm talking about under the age of 25, that lack confidence. They don't have self-esteem, they don't feel worthy of themselves. So it doesn't take much for a female to make them feel validated or to stroke their ego, even if she's a woman of not good quality, just like this young man who evidently was looking for validation. And that is why he had no problem having sex with this smoker who had AIDS. Because if he felt worthy of himself, for one, he wouldn't have been screwing her. And for two, he definitely wouldn't have been screwing her in the public, raw, in front of other people. So this just goes to show you, evidently, this young man has self-esteem issues. And it's a lot of young men out here who definitely have self-esteem issues because they're just laying with any and everybody. And they feel like the only way they could find some comfort and building their ego and building their confidence is by having promiscuous sex with all type of females, even if she's trash, even if she's below the barrel. Any type of female that he feels is willing to give him the opportunity to lay her, that is his way of feeling validated. Other young men that are more prone to lack of this discipline are males with no father figure or poor father figures. This is a no-brainer. Whenever a young man does not have an older man in his life that's being like a role model to him and that's putting him on game and teaching him how to avoid putting his, self in situations with females, and he's partaking in all type of moral sexual behavior, he's going to fall prey to, lacking common sense when it comes to choosing certain women, especially when it comes to having unprotected sex with all type of random females. The truth is, a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. She can't. It's going to take a man, whether if it's an uncle, whether if it's a brother, whether if it's some type of male authority, that's going to have to give these young black males knowledge, and they're going to have to educate them on just the fact, just because you have a dick and just because every female spreads her legs open, that don't mean jump on every opportunity that is presented to you. Sometimes you do have to say no. I don't care how thirsty you are. I don't care how bad you seeking validation. It comes a point when you have to turn certain females down. You just have to. Any woman that's willing to put herself out there easy, something is wrong with it. It's as the saying goes, if something is too good to be true, it usually is, and it's definitely the truth. And whenever you have a woman that's willing to give you some punani, she's willing to lay with you for little or nothing, you better really question that. Don't be so thirsty and feel like, oh man, if she's offering it to me, I better take it while I can get it, and because there's something wrong with it. If she's not giving it away to you easily for no reason, it's something behind it. Either she has the ninja, either she's very fertile and knows she can get pregnant easily. She's not offering it just to be offering it, and that's what I'm saying. But again, it takes a male figure to educate these young black men on how to avoid putting themselves and putting their penises into any and every Keisha, Kiki, and Nene. Also, poor father figures. Okay, it's one thing to not have a father at all, but not having a father is just as bad as having a father that sets a poor example. If these young men have fathers that are being promiscuous, that they know are cheating on their moms, have been with several women on their mothers, or even if their fathers not with their mothers, just seeing their fathers, have all type of random women in their apartment. They seeing their fathers, screwing. Um, all types of women, this sends the wrong message to them that it's okay to sleep with as many women as you can sleep with, get as much as you can get. This gives them false information, because the truth is, if they see their fathers doing it, if they see their male figure, the person that's supposed to be setting an example, sleeping with all type of random women, it makes them feel like that is normal. There's nothing wrong with it. That is the way it's supposed to be. You're giving him the wrong misperception of what is considered a man. And in his mind, he's going to feel like, only way I can be defined as a man, I got to sleep with as many women as I can sleep with. I got to lay up with every female that spreads her legs in front of me. So these two things, having a father or a poor father figure, is the reason why a lot of these young black males are partaking in promiscuous, immoral sexual behavior. Course, this goes without saying. Peer pressure from peers. A lot of these young black males, 9 times out of 10, their male counterparts are going to be young black males as well. And if they have friendships, or if they are bonding with other young black men that are very promiscuous, who don't practice safe sex, they have friends with guys that got several baby mamas, and they homeboys got all type of sexcapade stories to tell them. Yeah, man, I went to Keisha's house last night. She let me bang her back out. She let me have her in this position. She let me have her in that position. They're sharing all these sexcapade stories, making it seem like having sex with so many of these young freaks is such an adventurous thing. He can't relate to them because he doesn't have any sexcapade stories to share. So it makes him feel insignificant. It makes him feel like he's missing out. Like he's basically being a square. You can't discuss how many bras you knocking off or how many bras you screwing because you haven't screwed any. So your peers have a way of influencing you, and this happens a lot in the black community. I've heard it. I've been in certain places where I would be walking past a group of young men standing in front of a hood store, in front of a convenience store, or standing near a park, and I would hear them, "Yeah, man, you been with her how long, and you still ain't hit that yet? You crazy? You up here spending all your money on this broad? You taking her out to dinner, and she ain't gave you none yet? If I was you, I wouldn't be spending my money. I wouldn't be dating her. I would be trying to get as much as I can get." I hear how these other young men school other young men, and if these young men have not already been homegrown and trained on how to not allow their lack of discipline to get them caught up in situations, 9 times out of 10 they're going to listen to their hood booger male counterparts. They're going to listen to them. They're going to take their information and they're going to utilize um misinformation from the streets, because again, no one at home put any real knowledge, any real wisdom into him as a young man, so he's going to learn it from the streets. The next thing is, young men that are more prone to lack of discipline are males under the age of 25, because again, it all boils down to lack of experience, and it also boils down to lack of maturity. When you lack both of these things, you are more vulnerable and more gullible, falling into prey. And there's a lot of young black males that lack knowledge. They have no wisdom, they have no understanding, they just have no type of spiritual knowledge to protect them from getting caught up into situations like this. Because the truth of the matter is, these young men, like young black women, are going to be tested. They're going to be tried. They're going to meet the opposite sex that's going to pressure them, that's going to offer sex to them, that's going to willingly put them in immoral situations where they're going to have to make a choice. They're going to have to make a decision. And if they get in a situation and there was no knowledge or anything put into them, they're going to end up falling prey into partaking into immoral sexual behavior, because there was nothing put into them. And as a parent, as a mother, as a father, I advise you, if you got a son, if you got a daughter, and they are under the age of 18, you better put as much knowledge and as much wisdom. Y'all want to go out here and buy these children the brand new Jordans. You want to buy your daughters iPhones and hair bundles. Y'all giving them everything but what they really need, which is wisdom and knowledge, because that is what's going to save them. And a lot of us as black mothers and black fathers, we are failing as parents because we're not giving them the wisdom they need to go out here when they come up against these demons and when they come up against the spiritual warfare that's going to definitely test them, especially during their phase of innocence, when they really don't know all of what they need to know. And in the long run, you as the parent, you're going to get held accountable for that, because whatever poor choices your daughter or your son makes is going to fall on you. It is. So that's the next point about their age. If they're under 25, they're more prone to lack of discipline because they don't have the knowledge and they don't have the experience. Um the next group of young men that are more prone to lack of discipline are males in poverty, growing up in the area of low income housing, in poverty, in the projects. Not saying because you live in the projects, that does not mean you can't be successful. That does not mean you can't have anything. I know plenty of people who have been born and raised in the projects and are doing phenomenally well. So it doesn't have anything to do with your environment, but it has everything to do with how you was raised in that environment. And most males in poverty that was not able to get the best of things because their mothers had so many of siblings, had so many of their siblings at such a short period in time that they were financially deprived of certain things. Things of this nature that a lot of women, we don't think it's an issue. We don't see nothing wrong with having a bunch of children. We don't see nothing wrong with raising all 5 or 6 of our kids, with five to 4 to 5 different baby daddies in the projects, in low subsidizing housing. We see nothing wrong with it, but the truth of the matter is it does take an emotional and a financial toll on our sons, because the truth of the matter is you cannot give your children the best of things when you have so many of them and your income, you don't make the kind of income where you can give them the best of everything. What's going to tend to happen is this is going to eat up at their self-esteem. And it goes back to what I said earlier about males that lack low self-esteem and don't have no confidence. They're the ones that are most likely to fall prey into these fast ass promiscuous young females that are going to stroke their ego and make them feel validated. And next thing you know, there's these young men that are being born and raised in poverty conditions, looking for love, looking for validation, looking for some type of acknowledgement. It's not going to take much for a fast-tailed, Jezebel out there to stroke their ego. And next thing you notice, they're going to bed with this female. Whether she's a trifling female, whether if she's a half decent female or not, but most likely young males who are being raised in poverty are going to fall prey to the lack of discipline. Because again, it ties into their lack of low self-esteem. You can't get the best of everything. You can't always get new Jordans. You can't always get the best of clothes. You can't always get, you don't have that advantage of getting your first car at the age of 17 where you can go get your job, go to college because your mom has so many of y'all. It's you and five, six other siblings. She does not make enough money to where she can make sure her kids are well established before they leave home. So therefore, you're going to look for validation from somewhere. And 9 times out of 10, a young man that's in poverty, he's going to get validation from another young black female in poverty just like him. So what happens when two poverty-stricken young black male and young black female come together and produce a child? Guess what? That child has been produced in a poverty-stricken situation. So here it goes. The say generational curse is already it's developing at this point. Okay, so you got two poverty stricken parents who have produced a poverty stricken child, and the poverty is going to continue to keep growing or to keep expanding if neither one of them grow up and learn how to do things different so their life can go in another direction. But 9 times out of 10, the poverty cycle is going to keep repeating itself. Okay. The next type of young black males that are more prone to lack of discipline are males raised in single parent households. I mentioned this earlier. Women cannot raise a man how to be a man. Now, this is not to say that a single mother cannot see that her sons become successful. There's been many of single moms that have successful sons. I mean, Jay-Z, his father wasn't always in his life. All he had was his mother, and it did not stop him from becoming a successful entrepreneur, a successful rapper, and he was born and raised in a project. So it's not that it's improbable, but he's one in a million. The majority of these young black men, because they're just being raised by their mothers, a lot of them are going to fall prey to lack of discipline. And there's a couple of factors that fall into that. Some of those factors are the fact that if they were or being raised in a single parent household with mothers that have had several men in their presence, these uncles, what they used to call them back in the day, these uncles, these different random dudes, if he sees his mother is constantly in the presence of different men, it's going to give him this perception that men have the right to sleep with a woman as much as he wants and never be committed to her, especially if his mother has never been married, if his mother has never been wifed up by any of these men are just coming and going. As a male, he's looking at these men and seeing how they handle his mother, the woman who gave birth to him. So in his mind, that's normal for a man to come and go. A man does not have to commit to a woman. A man doesn't have to marry a woman. He can just use her for whatever he needs to use her for. And basically, that's for his own sexual, lustful desires. He does not have to build anything with her. He does not have to establish anything with her. It's a lot of single moms, these toxic single mothers that are giving their children, especially their sons, this misconception that it's okay for a woman to be used as an object. When you are a single mother and you got a different guy coming into your apartment every week, and your son there is seeing these different men come and go, you don't think that he's going to misconstrue that and think that that's normal? Also, he sees if he sees he has a single mother who has all of his siblings and none of the fathers are in his siblings' life, not even his own father. That also gives him a misconception that I can have as many children as I want. I don't have to raise them. Hell, my mom had all of us and none of our fathers was never there. So I don't have to be there for my children. A lot of us as single mothers, we're not realizing we poison our children by the way that we raise them in what we the situations we bring them up into, the environment that we raise them up in. We make them think that it's normal for men to not have a consistent role into their life, because we as black women, we have learned to just become content with just being baby mamas. We have strayed away from trying to be wives. We've made it normal for our young black sons and our young black daughters that it is okay to have as many children as you want to have, and you don't have to have any type of family foundation. You don't have to have any type of commitment with the father. We're not striving to have families anymore. As black women, we're not striving to have families. We're just striving to have children. Okay. And even though you see nothing wrong with that, the problem is you're teaching your son that there's nothing wrong with that. You can have as many baby mamas as you want, son. Look at me. I raised all of y'all by myself. None of y'all fathers never been there. Guess what? You don't have to be there. You can do the same thing your fathers are doing. You can raw dog and screw as many females as you want. And guess what? She can get housing like I'm getting housing. She get food stamps like I'm getting food stamps. She can get governmental assistance like I'm getting governmental assistance. You don't have to be there. You don't have to be an active father. None of y'all fathers are active, and we're still making it. We're still managing. Again, this all has to do with this misconception that single parents, these single mothers, are making the struggle of single parenting. They're trying to glamorize it and make it look normal in front of their sons, and not realizing that it is poisoning how he feels he needs to be as a father in the event he becomes one. Now, another group of young men that are more prone to lack of discipline are mama's boys. Okay, a lot of young black men are constantly being enabled by their single mothers, and there's a lot of factors that play into this. For one, a lot of these single mothers, they feel guilty that the fathers is not an active doesn't have an active role in their sons' lives. So how they try to compensate for that, especially when she knows she was the one who made the poor decision by even choosing him to be the father of her child in the first place. A lot of these single mothers, how they try to compensate for it is by letting their sons get away with murders, and by giving him the best of everything. You know you cannot give him the father that he should have had because you didn't give a damn who you laid with. So you feel like you can compensate for that by buying him the new Jordans, buying him the nicest clothes, buying him the latest gear, anything to make him not have to feel the loss of not having our father in his life. You think you can compensate for that by materialistic things. If you're not compensating for it through materialistic things, you're compensating for it by letting him do whatever the hell he wants to do, because again, you feel guilty as a mother that you have deprived him of not ensuring that when you laid with his father was going to be a real father, a real man to him, teach him how to be a man. You feel like you failed him in that. You know you failed him in that. So the only way you can take the guilt off of you as a single mama is by letting your son pretty much do what the hell he wants to do. And that is not good. You cannot allow your guilt or the poor decisions you made, you can't use that as an excuse to allow your son to be a mama's boy. And it's a lot of single mothers in the black community. A lot of y'all sons, y'all have raised them to be mama's boys. They don't take responsibility for anything. You see a lot of the things that your son does is out of pocket, but out of guilt. You sit there and you allow him to get away with it. You allow him to screw all type of young females in your house. You allow him to stay out past curfew. You allow him to smoke weed in your house. It's a lot of black single mothers that are allowing their black sons to get away with murder. And you wonder why when these older when these young black men become older black men, they start acting more like your damn husband than your damn son. They telling y'all what to do. They raising up on y'all. I've seen many situations in which these single mothers are so protective of their little boys, and they don't want nobody spanking them, nobody hitting them. And yet, for these young little precious little boys to turn around and become these ruthless, grown ass, disrespectful young men who now raising up on her, cussing her out, telling her what to do because you treated him like your little prince. And now he don't know his place as your son because you didn't allow him to be the man of the household. A lot of y'all have allowed y'all sons to be like secondary husbands. You sit up there, you hold conversations with him like he's a grown man, letting him know about all of what you're going through. Your child is a child. Certain things they don't need to be known that you're going through because they'll use it against you later, especially when they get old enough to understand that half of what you went through was your fault. Again, as black women being single mothers, that's something we have to work on. So those are a few things that I have listed as far as young men that are more prone to lack of discipline, males with low self-esteem, males with no father figure or poor father figure, peer pressure from peers, males under the age of 25, males in poverty, males raised in single parent households, and the last one I named, mama's boys. Now, the next thing I wanted to address is how lack of discipline is affecting young black males. Young men have misguided information that masculinity is defined by how often they use their penis, thanks to social media, rap music, and thanks to male chauvinistic content creators. So therefore, they will continue to participate in immoral sexual behavior. A lot of these things has contributed to young black males being affected by the lack of discipline. Listen to think about the type of music they're listening to. The trap music that a lot of these rap artists put out there today talk about how hitting somebody from the back, how you got to screw this one female and screw that female. Everything, all the rap music today is all about sex. That's all they talk about is sex. So it's constantly being embedded into these young black men that the only way you can be masculine is by how you use your penis. Rap music, that's all they talk about. Social media, that's all they talk about. Now it's gotten to the point to where, as I stated, these young men have become so bold and promiscuous in moral behavior. They're posting on their Instagram, they're posting on their Facebooks, raw video footage of them having sex with these young females. And these young females have so much lack of respect for themselves, they will allow these young men to record them. Or in many cases, they don't even know they're being recorded, but because um a lot of these young females, like these young black males, have such lack of self-esteem, they don't even take the time to look into the situation before they even allow a young man to take them to bed. Make sure this guy recording me? Is this guy using me? Is he taking advantage of me? Sex now has just become something to do as far as the black community goes. Not only that, these male chauvinistic content creators, you go on YouTube, these men are telling these young men, you don't need to be committed to nobody. You need to have as much sex as you can have. You need to lay with as many women as you can lay with. You need to be bending females over on the couch. This is the type of information that these full grown men who's supposed to be mature, this is the type of content they are preaching to these young black males. And this is why the BFF community has continued to expand, because a lot of these black male commentators, what they're not understanding is you are teaching young black males to screw as many women as possible. So the majority of the women that they are screwing or partaking in promiscuous behavior with is going to be the same type of black females that y'all constantly complain about. Those are the ones that they are going to target. They are going to target the females that represent the BFF. Because basically, y'all are teaching them, y'all have taught them, you need to lay up with as many females as possible. So what that's going to do is, it's going to just make him be more focused on quantity versus quality. He's not even going to examine the female how she lives, how she takes care of herself, how she carries herself, her reputation. He's going to overlook all of that because, again, a lot of these men in the YouTube streets are not teaching these young men to go for quality, not quantity. So he's going to be focused on trying to get as much ass that he can get. He don't care who it's from, how he get it, long as he get it. And as long as he has that attitude, 9 times out of 10, he's going to pick up the worst batch of females that's going to make his life miserable because he's not looking at nothing about her, not her character, not nothing. All he's going to be focusing on is she going to put out. And as long as she's putting out and that's all he's focusing on, he's going to end up falling into that entrapment. And that's what it boils down to. Next thing is how lack of discipline is affecting young black males. Young fathers are more likely to have economic and deployment challenges and are more often economically disadvantaged than adult fathers. Again, because we're teaching the young black men that the only way you're going to be a man, masculinity is defined by how often you use your penis. Okay, so 9 times out of 10, he's going to be impregnating all type of females because that thought has already been planted into his mind as a man. That's all you need to be focused on is how many women you can lay up and get. So what's going to happen is he's going to end up getting a few females pregnant. And along the way, he's going to struggle economically and he's going to have a lot of challenges with seeking employment, especially if he's young. He didn't even get a chance to finish high school, don't have a GED, has nothing to show for it. He's already at a disadvantage compared to an adult father who has already graduated high school, who is married to the woman that is the mother of his children. He's going to struggle a lot. And it's a lot of young black men that are struggling. The child support courts are flooded with young black teenage fathers under the age of 18. Some of them barely barely graduated. Some didn't even graduate and already are fathers. So again, when we're putting this misconception out here, only way you're a man, the only thing that defines your masculinity is your penis. The more you use it, the more you're considered as a man. There's also a misconception that boys will be boys, especially I notice that a lot with these single moms. As I mentioned before, they let their sons get away with murder. I've heard a single black mother. I heard her verbally say this out of her mouth. When her son was going through his rebellious stage of being a teenager, we've all been there, and he was cutting up in school and just, getting out of hand and just getting all type of trouble and stuff. And, I remember somebody asked her a question about, you don't think that your son needs some counseling? You don't think that he needs some type of male mentor? Her simple reply was, well, boys will be boys. And I'm so sick and tired of black women feeling like they don't have to teach their sons anything, especially when it comes to other young black females who can take advantage of her son. And the reason why a lot of these single black mothers cannot really teach their sons anything is because they once upon a time themselves was just like the females who are targeting their sons. They was easy, they was promiscuous, and you would think after what they have taken other men through, that they would be schooling their sons so their sons won't be taken advantage of like they took advantage of other men. But then again, if you as a black woman don't feel like you've ever taken advantage of any black man, you feel like you've never used or never manipulated a man to get what you want, long as you feel like you've never done it, you cannot teach anybody how to not avoid a woman like you because you don't even think that you are that woman. So therefore, you can't pass down that knowledge. Often, we as black women, we cannot teach our sons what type of women to avoid because the truth of the matter is a lot of us, and if it doesn't apply, you don't have to reply. A lot of us are the type of women that, in a sense, our sons should be trying to avoid, especially if you are a woman who have always had malicious motives when it comes to getting what you want out of men. You should be teaching your son how to avoid dealing with women like but the truth of the matter is a lot of us, we're not going to go there. We're not going to be transparent and admit that there's been a lot of malicious things that we have done to men in the past. That way we can use the things that we have done as a guide to teach our sons to be cautious or be aware of certain women that are only out for themselves. So nevertheless, moving on to my next point, which is because I'm looking for my notes, y'all. Another issue as far as how lack of discipline is affecting young black males is that young men will be in excessive amount of debt due to child support and will have difficulty having a healthy future because they made themselves men before they grew out of their boy stage. Too many little boys are becoming young fathers before they can learn to become men. This is a huge significant issue in the black community for young black males. I know a lot of young black males that are not even 25 years old yet, not even 30, and they're already a father of 5 children or more. They're already in excessive debt before they could even get their own house. Before they could purchase their own home, they already have too many children. Before they can even get married to a woman, they already have excessive amount of child support they have to pay for multiple children. Before they can buy their own car, before they can really get grounded and get on their feet. A lot of them unfortunately are confined from being able to grow because they have so many children for multiple women and they have all this excessive amount of child support. So therefore, they have limited themselves based on the fact that they have so many responsibilities because again, they made themselves become men. They gave themselves manly responsibilities before they were able to mature into manhood. So that's a big significant issue for a lot of the young black men again, because this comes from being a very promiscuous male. When it comes to the word promiscuity, we only want to relate that to females. But the problem is there are a lot of young men that partake in promiscuous immoral behavior, and it is costing them way more than it's costing the females. Females, no matter how much they partake in promiscuous activities, they're going to get some type of help. Okay, they're going to get help from the government. They're going to get housing. They're going to get WIC. They're going to get voucher. The government is going to look out for them. The government is going to make sure the father of that child steps up whether they want to or not. And that's a major disadvantage. You have even grown men who are feeling the funk of child support, let alone these young men who barely getting on their feet, still codependent on their parents, don't even have their own apartment, they have nothing established for themselves, and they're already in a predicament where they are in excessive debt just because they've been slinging around penis to multiple women, and now they have multiple child support cases. There's a lot of men in my line of work, a lot of young men that are inmates that have excessive amount of child support that they have to pay, to all of these multiple women. And again, they cannot take care of themselves because child support is not going to look out for the best interest of the man. It's going to always be in the best interest of the child and the mother. And it's unfortunate that it's a lot of young men, they're going to struggle getting themselves established just for the fact that they have a lot of multiple children for multiple young females. Next is that these young men are impregnating young women who adopt the same principles as their bitter, jaded mothers. You have to realize there's a lot of bitter, older black women that are raising their young daughters to be bitter black women as well. So a lot of these young men are impregnating young females that have already adopted this bitter black woman syndrome. Their mothers have already trained them and programmed them to make a black man's life miserable, to basically get all you can out of him, make him miserable, whatever you got to do to make sure that you're gonna reap the benefits. That's what you have to do. A lot of these young men are not understanding that they're going around and they're raw dogging these young females. They're laying these females, and they're taking every opportunity. As soon as a young female spreads their legs open in front of them, they don't give it no second thoughts, no third thoughts. They go in immediately, not thinking about consequences down the line, that I could be stuck with this broad for the rest of my life. I may have to every time I work or get a job, I'm going to always have to deposit my checks into her bank account for a child from a woman who I don't love, who I never cared for, who I never want to be with like that. Um, it's a lot of setbacks that come along with partaking in promiscuous behavior, and I get it that society has made these young men believe you are a man. If you can screw as many females as you want to screw, you can bang as many chicks as you can bang, but they're not being realistic with these young men by telling them, yeah, you can do all of that, but guess what, these females are going to have the upper hand once once you get caught up with the wrong one. She has the upper hand to make your life miserable. She basically gets to decide, how often she wants to take you down to child support, how often she wants to ask for an increase, how often, as soon as you get on your feet and you start doing well, and she gets the sense of, okay, he must be making more money, he must be doing really well, now that's her opportunity to try to come in on full mode and attack him and try to get as much more out of him, even though she's already getting a good substantial amount. But anything to just try to make a young man's life difficult. And that's what a lot of these young men are not understanding. They know they understand the mechanics of sex. They know how to do it. They know where the penis goes, and they know all the different positions and all of this and that or whatever. But the problem is they don't really understand the depth of the misery that sleeping with the wrong woman can cost them. Sleeping with the wrong female can cost them in the wrong run. Because some of these women, once they have a child from you, they're not going to let up. They're not going to make your life easy. They're going to try to hit you up every chance they get, and that's just something a lot of these old school men need to be preparing these young men about that. Hey, I know this chick is letting you go to her house every night and she letting you get it as much as you want. She's letting you hit off as much as you want, but I'm telling you, you get caught up with this female, the same female that's making it so easy for you to get it. It's going to be the one that's going to make it hard for you. Women that give it to you so easy are the main ones that's going to make your life hard. And by the time you find out, it's going to be too late, because once a child is here, you cannot throw that child back, no matter how much you hate the mother of that child. A lot of these men on YouTube, in the YouTube sector, they are the ones who need to be preaching this to these young black men so we can decrease the BFF, population. Okay. The next thing is, no one talks to young men about marriage and how beautiful it could be. I have yet to hear any black man discuss to these young black males that are coming up that marriage could be a beautiful thing. If anything, I hear more negative stuff about marriage than I hear positive. I'm constantly hearing male content creators talk about, you don't need to wife these hoes, you don't need to marry these women, you need to be a player for life, get what you can get, bend over your couch, basically just be like a male whore, a male Jezebel. And it seems like fun and games in the beginning, but the truth is a lot of these guys are not being honest with these young men and letting them know that, yeah, it's a lot that comes with that territory of being a player. You can get caught up in situations where you can get caught up in a fatal attraction. You can get caught up with a female that becomes obsessed with you, that wants to be with you, that will stalk you, that will stalk your wife, stalk your baby mama, make you lose your job. You just can't be going around here raw dogging females all kind of way and playing with their emotions and thinking that you're invincible and it's never going to come back and catch up to you, and it's never going to come back to haunt you. You should be teaching these young men the benefits of having all of their children from one woman. I mean, even the rapper Lil Bootsy, he was honest and he said it. He said he wished he would have skeeted in just one woman versus skeeting in multiple women. He said that he did not regret having his children. He loved his children, but he would have rather have them all from one woman. And this is the part that these older black men need to be preaching to these young black men. Don't be having all these multiple children for multiple females, because you got to deal with all these different personalities. This female over here, this baby mom over here is one that always going to child support every other month. When she see like you doing well, she feel like you got a new car, she asking for an increase every other month. This one over here, she don't never want you to see your child. When you do try to call her to see your child, she's giving you all type of lip service and stuff. With the more women you have to deal with, the more of a headache you're going to create for yourself, because you're dealing with these different moody ass, crabby ass attitudes, that you got to deal with. And then these women have a lot of power. Once a woman has your child, she has power. She has the power to decide if she can make your life miserable or if she can make your life pleasant, depending on what she's going through and what type of woman she is. It is better to have your children for more than one woman. That way you can raise all of your kids under the same roof. You as a father, you can see that that child is being taken care of. You see that child is being not taken advantage of. All your money is going into that one house versus being spread from 3 to 4 different baby mama houses. You got to worry about, is she taking the money? Is she buying my kids the right thing? You're going to visit your kids and see they looking like, orphans from a third world country, but her hair is done, her nails is done. She riding in her Toyota Camry with her new live-in boyfriend. They going to Chinese buffets and things of that nature, and your children looking like a hot ass mess. Well, guess what? When you have children for multiple women, that's the price you got to pay. You pretty much can't do nothing about what they do or what they don't do for your child, because these courts are more in favor of the women. Okay, unless you can prove she's really, really unfit, she's a crackhead, or the child's getting molested or something by the living boyfriend, these courts are not trying to hear it. Okay, so this is the things that a lot of these older men are not being honest and telling these young men, but they tell them, no, get as much ass as you can get, screw as many women as you want to screw, bang as many chicks as you want to bang, but they're not telling them now later on down the life, all of the things that you're doing with these females is going to cause you so much headaches, so much stress, and you're going to be dead broke by the time you pay all these females. And then the thing about it is, when you are ready to settle down, because eventually, no matter how much you hoeing right now, eventually you may get to a point in time where you want to settle down with one woman. It's not going to be too many women that's going to want to kick it with a dude or marry a dude that has 5, 6 baby mamas that he got to take care of, because she knows she's going to end up getting the shortest deal, the shortest end of the stick, because before his checks even makes it to her household, child support done already garnished a large percentage out. So that's going to be a big burden on her. And a lot of young men, they don't think about stuff like this, because right now it's all about ass and getting more ass. But eventually, when they become full-grown men and they get tired of hoeing, they get tired of all these different females, they're going to finally want a woman to settle down with. That's not going to be fair to that woman that you done sit up here and spread all your seeds like you a goddamn gardener all over the goddamn place. She deals with you. She has to deal with your 5, 6 baby mamas. And again, it's these men that are not educating these young men and telling them the deal. And it's also these mothers, these black women. Y'all know how y'all are. Y'all know how y'all get down. Y'all need to be teaching y'all sons to avoid getting all type of young women, females knocked up, because you yourself as a woman, you know how malicious women could be when they can't have their way, or when they're in the miserable state of their life. The first thing they want to do is start making problems for the baby daddy, because they're not happy where they are. And you as mothers, y'all need to be schooling y'all sons and not taking it lightly on your son just because he's a male. You need to be educating him and preparing him to stay away from certain women that's going to make his life damn miserable. You need to encourage these young men, get married, have a family. Just not stop having just baby mamas. Get a wife. That way all your money is going in one house and all your kids is with that one woman. Okay, that's the only woman you got to deal with. You don't have 2, 3, 4 other women outside of the one wife you have. That's how it should be. Yes, I've heard the stories how when you get married, women get alimony, women could end up with the house, end up with the cars. All that is true, but I would rather a wife end up with half of all of what you have. At least you know it was with a woman you loved and cared about, and it was just with that one woman, versus all these multiple women. Half of them you don't know them, because you ain't been with them like that. You don't love them. You never care for them. All y'all have is a child together, and you can't really connect with the child because you never really connected with the mother. And a lot of these young men are not understanding the lifestyle of being a male gigolo, how it's going to come back to haunt them in the long run, especially when they're having children in the midst of it. Next point about how lack of discipline is affecting young black males. is that by the time a promiscuous male discovers how much trouble his penis has gotten himself into, his life will be forever damaged. By the time he starts putting all the pieces together and he realizes that, all his child support he has to pay, all the drama he has had to go through with the baby mamas, all of the power that these women have utilized to their advantage to make his life miserable. By the time he figures it out, it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late, and damage is already done. And there are just some things in his life, certain mistakes you make, there are no do-overs. Once you make that mistake, you have to live with it. You can't change it. You can't go back and reverse it. Once you have made a certain decision, you are stuck with that decision. And that is a harsh reality that a lot of these young black males under the age of 25 are not understanding. All of these chicks that they are raw dogging, that they are laying with, not using protection with, these are the same females that they're going to have to be stuck with 10, 18 years down the line. And even then, it still doesn't stop, because your children still need you once they're grown. Just because they over the age of 18, that don't mean that your parenting skills are going to stop. Okay? So that is another reality that a lot of these young men have to understand. Also, linking up with the wrong females is going to ruin his chances of having a successful future. As I mentioned before, a lot of these women have adopted a lot of their bitter hostility towards black men, and a lot of it has to do with the woman that raised them, that put it into their mind that all black men are not this, men ain't that, and you know, uh, uh, you know, just the negative things that black women think about black men. She's going to all those principles and ideologies or whatever have already been programmed into her mind as a young black woman. So unfortunately, when your son, these young black men, come into contact and they get involved with these young women that have this older bitter black woman syndrome that they have adopted from their mothers, 9 times out of 10, she's going to ruin him. She's going to try to ruin him. And his chances of having a successful future is 0 to none. He's not going to be able, if he knocks up the female, this type of female has a child from or has multiple children from these women, he's going to have to drop out of school to try to get a job. And we already know the chances of somebody getting a good job with not even a high school diploma is a major disadvantage, unfortunately. He's going to have to work minimum wage. He's going to have to, basically, his whole future is going to be put on the back burner simply because he has gotten sexually involved with the wrong type of females who never had good intentions from the get-go. Next, young black males who become fathers will most likely pass down their poor choices to their children. If you're a young black man and you didn't get yourself a chance to become a man where you was able to mature and you was able to learn and go through and experience certain things, you as a young man, you're going to pass down a lot of your poor characteristics to your own child, because again, you have not given yourself the privilege of becoming an adult yet. You have not experienced life. So it's basically like a child teaching another child. And a lot of these young black men, they cannot teach their sons anything. They can't teach them anything. They can't teach their daughters anything because they don't know any goddamn thing. They just don't. Because again, they're still at that boy phase in life. They have not reached manhood. So they have not gone through enough in life to know what to teach a child that they are now a father to, because they have not become men themselves. Next, another how lack of discipline is affecting young black males is he will most likely resent women. And this is definitely going to happen, because what's going to happen is a young black male who's going around here penetrating all type of females and getting them pregnant. These same females are going to be making him pay child support. And let's face it, a lot of these young people, they don't like being responsible. And that's whether if they're male or female, they don't like to be responsible. So if you put a young man in a position where he is forced to be responsible, especially when he thinks that he should not have to be, he's automatically going to have some resentment against women because he's going to feel like these baby mamas ruined his life. Why I got to pay for these kids? Why I got to work and get a job? Why my license got to get suspended because I ain't paid no child support? He's going to lack accountability because, again, it's that immaturity to where he don't feel like he should have to do anything. And I can't really hold that against him because he's thinking like a boy. He's thinking like a child. That's how children think. Okay, you have a lot of children that make adult decisions, but they do it with a child mindset. And that's the problem with a lot of these young men who are going around screwing these females like they're grown ass men. But the problem is when the responsibilities come out of these adult decisions they're making, the little boy in him is going to clam out and make him feel like he shouldn't have to do a goddamn thing. These young men, they don't take child support serious. They don't take being a father serious because at that age and time, they're still going through that selfish phase and they're going through that immaturity. And of course, the female is going to mature faster than him because, for one, she carries the child and the child is with her the majority of the time. He, on the other hand, and especially if he had a mother that babied him, or if he ain't had no real father figure, he is totally going to be lost in the sauce. He's not going to want to be held responsible. So when he's put in a position where he is forced to be responsible, even though it is his responsibility, he's going to resent women because he's going to feel like these bras is making me do something I feel like I should not have to do. So that's another big issue. A lot of these young men are going around here raw dogging and having unprotected sex with these young females, and these young females are being coached by the pigeon brain mothers. Well, you need to take him for child support. You need to go file child support on him, and this, and that, and the third. Okay, and when that happens, and a young man now has to be obligated, he is angry with all females because he feel like women are the ruin of him. Okay, even though he was the one going around raw dogging them, he's still going to feel like it's the females who's trying to complicate his life. Okay, and next point is he's going to pass sexually transmitted diseases to other young women, which spreads through the black community. Like in this clip, we've seen this young black man up here screwing this older retired, well, she hasn't retired, but this older tired ass prostitute smoker looking broad. You didn't use no protection with her. You think that's going to make him stop not sleeping with other females, even though he has been made aware that this lady has AIDS? Even though he's aware of that now, even though he didn't use any protection, he's not going to stop. He is still going to be having participating in promiscuous sex with other young females. He's not going to learn from this because he's still a young man. He's still ignorant to a big degree. So he's going to continue to keep doing what he's been doing. So he's going to continue to keep having sex. So it's going to be other young black women in the community that's going to get that disease because he's going to keep sleeping around. I guarantee you he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop not using protection. He's still not going to use, he is still, what I'm saying is, he is still not going to learn from this situation. He's still going to be screwing other young females and still giving them, passing the STDs to them. And then they're going to still be screwing the other young men. It's going to continue to keep spreading. That's what promiscuous behavior does. Promiscuous behavior continues. It does not make people learn to where, okay, I don't need to be doing this. I see that it's costing me my life. It's costing me my health. He's not going to learn. I guarantee you, he's still going to be screwing other women. Okay? So I hope any young female who has seen this video recognizes his face and will not even go nowhere near this dude, because it just really speaks volume as to how corrupt and how sad the black community has become, to the point to where we just don't give a damn who we screw. We sleep with any and everybody, and then we want to play victim when the consequences don't work out in our favor. And this is the last point. Teenage fathers are most likely to abandon the mothers because they aren't mature enough to handle the responsibilities. A lot of these young men become fathers. They were not ready to become fathers. It was just all it was about initially for them was just the sex. They did not look to get pregnant, even to get anybody pregnant, even though they did not use any protection. They did not look to have to be responsible for another human being. They did not look to have to deal with any of that. It was simply just sex. So now, when you put a child that has been created in the act of a lustful deed, where two individuals were selfish and both was only worried about getting what they could for the moment, 9 times out of 10, when it gets too much for him, he's gonna jump ship. He's not going to deal with it. And so many young black men that are walking away from their responsibilities as fathers because they cannot deal with the pressure. They cannot deal with the pressure of having to work these 9 to 5 minimum wage jobs just to keep giving a female who's not their wife, who they don't care about, money out their pocket. They can't deal with the stress of, when children communicate, they cry a lot. They cry. Children could be a handful. You have to have a lot of patience to deal with children. It's hard for us as adults sometimes to deal with children. So when you speaking on terms of a young man who's barely 18 years old and still learning his way in life, he has to deal with the pressures, the financial pressures, the mental and emotional pressures that come along with being a young father, who's still in the struggle and who still is not financially well and and well established himself. It can really stress him the hell out. That's why a lot of these young men, some of them, they killing their own children. And it's not that I agree with it, but some of these young men, they can't handle the pressure. They will kill their children, or they will either hurt the mother of their child, or they'll just simply walk away. Like, I can't deal with this shit. This is too much. I'm tired of kicking out money every month. I got to turn around and keep putting money in her hand because the baby keep needing something. The baby's always crying and I got to get up and go to work. They cannot deal with the pressures of being a father. So they just say, you know what? F it. I'm just not even going to do any goddamn thing. And that's why we have so many young single mothers that are raising these children on their own, because they conceived a child with a little boy who nowhere was a man, even though he may have handled her like a man in the bedroom, but his mindset and his mentality was nowhere near prepared to deal with that type of responsibility. So anyway, I just want to share this with y'all, about the lack of discipline will be the demise of young black males. Just seeing this promiscuous behavior, like I've said, I've seen several incidences in which young men have been partaking in a lot of promiscuous behavior. I've seen another video also. This was a couple of months back, where there was 3 young men who was basically running a train on another young black female, and you can tell they was in some type of basement or some old abandoned house. And somebody sent it to me through my Facebook Messenger, and they did not have condoms. You will not believe what the hell they was using on her. They was using plastic grocery store bags. That is what they put over their penis, while they all was taking turns screwing her, having sex with her. They was using Kroger bags, and you can tell as they were having sex with her, you can hear the grocery bags as they're in the middle of the act. You can hear the sounds of the bag, and I'm like, you know what? That had to be hella goddamn uncomfortable for you to sit up there and let these 3 guys, bang you and penetrate you with grocery bags on their penis. Y'all think I'm making this shit up? I'm not making it up. I'm telling you. This is how bad it has gotten with our young black men and young black women in the black community. They either not using no protection, or they using any goddamn thing. And like I said, these guys, they all took turns. Bags are very thin, plastic material. And she laid there and she let these young men practically have their way with her. They was rough with her, roughing her up, and just treating her like trash, like like a straight animal in a zoo, and I'm like, wow, it just amazes me. Where the hell are the parents at? Y'all ain't teaching y'all children nothing. Y'all just letting them be out here to raise themselves, and y'all wonder why we have so much problems and issues within the black community. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get ready to shut it down. I just had to share this information with y'all when this video was brought to my attention. If you got sons, you got nephews, you got young men in your family, and you see them out there, living a risky lifestyle where they're being very promiscuous and they're not using protected sex, they're not using protection. Please talk to them. Let them know all the consequences. So in the event something happens, that can ease your conscience. You'll know I told my son everything I could. He chose to make the worst decision after I gave him all the knowledge and all the wisdom. I can't feel bad about it. Or, whatever the case is, you've done your part. But anyway, give me y'all opinion on the situation. I would like to hear from you guys, and I would like to hear from you ladies. Do y'all think we're taking it too easy on our young black men in the community? Do you think there's not enough of black males that are preaching to these young men and letting them know that, hey, don't be raw dogging all these multiple women. Have all your children from one woman. Save yourself the headaches. Save yourself all the financial ruins of what child support could take you through. What is y'all opinion on this? I'm interested in hearing it. But anyway, I'm gonna get ready to shut things down. Again, if anybody interested in cable, make sure you guys hit me up or whatever. Remember, it's only $25 a month if you decide to do 6,000 channels or more. But anyway, I've been on here long enough. People is blowing up my phone. I will holler at y'all later. It is your girl, Lady Mocha. Remember, I'm going to always pour you a cup of truth. And I'm going to always break you off a slice of knowledge. Talk to you later. Bye.